Guys, we learned this week some of those 2018 two-strokes are going to be fuel injected. Stick around. The reason why transfer port injection is coming to two-strokes is not because people have been begging for it, it's because of emission laws in Europe. There are emission standards called the Euro 4s, and then Euro 5s will be coming into practice here in probably 2020. That's what's driving the fuel injection or transfer port injection on these two-strokes. So yeah, we're getting EFI on the two-strokes. Now, let's be clear. In the US market, we're only going to get a 250 XC-W TPI, which is the transfer port injection model. There's only one. So that should tell you something. They're not doing away with carburetors, at least not altogether. Another thing that that needs to be noted is that all of the tuning for this EFI is to try to make it run like a carbureted model. There are quotes from the KTM marketing people saying exactly that one thing that they've tried to do is to make this TPI, the 300 and the 250, and again, the 300 is only going to go to Europe. In Europe, they'll have the 250 EXC and the 300 EXC in these TPI models. So Europe gets the 250 and the 300. The US right now only gets the 250. But this may be a good thing for two-strokes. It may be a bad thing for two-strokes. Let's focus on some of the pros of this. You'll have reduced fuel consumption, which should make those bikes more efficient to be able to run longer on a tank. You're also not going to be pre-mixing your gas. You're not going to be pre-mixing the oil in your gas because the system's going to do that for you. You don't have to worry about jetting. The system is going to do that for you. So you don't have to, change jets for different altitudes. You won't have to change your jets when you get your bike. So that could be a good thing. You also won't have a choke. So you'll be able to, when the bike is cold, you'll be able to just boom, hit that starter in the same way that you do with your EFI 4-strokes. You'll be able to do that. Another advantage is they'll be able to be map tunable. So you may have a switch on your two-stroke just like you do on a lot of your 4-strokes. I mean, I think actually some of the two-strokes are even coming with some of those things now, but you'll be able to map tune the bike. That's cool. There are some downsides though, so let's go through those. First is that there's a cost to this. The cost of the bikes is going to increase. In fact, Joachim Sauer, KTM's product marketing manager, says that these bikes will increase in cost and they will be more along the lines of the price of the 4-strokes, the more complex 4-strokes. That's a downside. Another possible downside about these bikes is that they may weigh a little bit more. If we're not going to be mixing the oil into our gas, that means there is going to need to be a bottle and a mixing system on the bike itself. So you'll be carrying around extra oil in addition to all the gas that you have. So I can't see how this happens without adding a little bit of extra weight. Another thing is complexity. What I just talked about here is that now you're adding more electronics to the bike, more high-tech components to the bike that can possibly fail, and it makes them more complex. You could possibly have a problem with your oil injection system. We've seen that happen on snowmobiles. Now I know that also those have come a long ways, and it's probably going to be fine, but it does definitely increase the complexity there. I myself find it interesting and a little bit telling that this is only coming on one bike to the US market. And as far as I know, it's not even the most popular bike in the US market. I think that the most popular bike would be a 300, at least the 2-strokes, either a 300 XC-W or a 300 XC. So it's going to the 250. I think that's probably smart. I think it's a way to test the market. I also think that this is something that could actually save 2-strokes in the long run. There are so many problems that we've had with emissions in the last couple of decades, and everyone is so hypersensitive to it that this may be ultimately the thing that saves 2-strokes. I love the 2-strokes. I love the simplicity. I love the fact that they're easy to tune. I love the fact that they're simple. I know I've said that a bunch of times, and this takes away from some of that, but it's possible that this is what we have to do in order to make sure that we still have these models. It also means that it might ensure a carbureted version. It wouldn't surprise me at all if KTM keeps the carbureted versions of this. Think about what Beta did. When Beta put oil injection on their 300RR, they actually left it completely off of their 300RR Race Edition so as to not alienate any of those guys that didn't want the bike mixing the gas for them. KTM might do a similar thing where you're always able to get a carbureted version. I don't know. All I know is I'm looking on the bright side. It'll be interesting to see what they've come up with. I know that they've said that they're doing everything in their power to make this thing run like a carbureted two-stroke. And if you think about it, for the first 4 to 7 years after they put EFI in 4-strokes, all the manufacturers were trying to get those electronic fuel injections to actually run more like a 4-stroke, to give an on-demand, to create an on-demand fuel system like a carburetor does so perfectly when it's tuned. So hopefully KTM has been able to kind of work some of those kinks out and learn from everything that they've done and all the other bike manufacturers have done on EFI 4-strokes and get it right the first time on this two-stroke, on the transfer port injection two-stroke. So let me read you a quote from Joachim Sauer, that's KTM's product marketing manager, and this actually gives me a little bit of hope here. He says, quote, "We've run a lot of tests on fuel injection on two-strokes, and at the end of the day, we decided to try and keep the characteristics as you have them today on a bike with a carburetor. What I can say is that if I jumped on one of our bikes not knowing if it had a carburetor or was fuel injected, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference when riding. We're very close with our final settings. The main difference with the EFI bike is that it always runs clean. Where a carburetor can load up on a long downhill, an EFI bike always remains crisp and clean running." And I hope that they're able to actually deliver on that. This could be an awesome thing. It might have a few guys worried, and I'm actually one of those guys, but I'm gonna have to trust them and see if they're able to produce something that actually works as good or better than a carburetor and has some of those additional benefits that the EFI has. Only time will tell, and hopefully this is a good thing. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, if you didn't already know, Patreon is the best way to support Dirt Bike Channel. We've got some really cool rewards over there, so click on the link up here that you see to become a patron. That'll take you directly to our site and you can check everything out. You can donate as little as $1 per month and it would really, really help us out. Thanks a ton, guys.